process with the blindfold or not blindfold? Thank you.
I found when I was blindfolded, I was distracted from my other senses, which really should sharpen when you've got no sight. I just concentrated on what Kevin was doing and followed his lead. So that took me away from the rest of the environment, except when someone played the piano. I heard that, of course.
So you're talking about the exploring the shoulder or the movement?
The walking around blindfolded.
With the blindfold, yeah.
No, that was good. The blindfold movement too. It changed our approach. Kevin noticed that I was a bit more exploratory and a bit more gentle and slower when I couldn't see.
Okay.
So I didn't charge into it. Oh yeah, there. You know, I sort of gently worked towards it.
So more exploratory, and difference in speed that was noticed. Okay, somebody else? Either the two system or that hands-on experience of or experience of giving or receiving.
So in the when we were walking around together forming the one system, my partner and I both had different standing and leading feet from each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so interestingly, both the people that were, when we were blindfolded, we adapted to the leader.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was just, it was almost like it was more obvious when you were blindfolded, because when you were leading, you were kind of concentrating on where you were going.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas for the other person, when you were blindfolded, it was more about sensing.
Mm-hmm.
And so you could feel a lot of things more sensitively, I think. Anyway, that was our experience,
Great.
Or my experience. And the shoulder thing, I found I could actually feel the breathing underneath the shoulder, like on the ribs underneath, when I was blindfolded, which really surprised me. Yeah, I sort of went, oh, I can feel that. Yeah, so that was really good.
Great, thank you.
With the blindfolding, I found I felt safer when I was closer to the ground. Like when I was up standing, it felt more insecure, like loss of balance. Yeah, it felt uneasy. But when I was doing stuff close to the floor, much more secure.
Mm.
I felt more secure when I could feel my partner's pelvis, like touch against mine. And whenever we lost that contact, then it felt a little more, where are we? Where are we going? What are we doing? But I found it a lot of fun. I quite enjoyed it. But I was blindfolded first, and I quite enjoyed it. We were running and stuff. And I think it deceived me as to what the experience was going to be when I was leading, because I found it a lot more challenging, feeling my partner not feel the stability, and then trying to figure out what I could do to make her feel more safe. It took me about 3/4 of the way through to realise that I'd had my arm around her waist and was holding her here, and I'd been thinking more about my experience of being able to feel her side, against mine when we were doing it before. But when I moved my hand down to be on this side of her, so kind of had the contact on both sides of her pelvis, then it helped kind of guide the movement a lot more.
Interesting, huh?
Just one little comment about the following and leading. At one stage, my partner moved her arm from around my waist to up behind my shoulder, and I actually found that preferential to the other way. You could pick up a lot more subtlety of movement in which direction she was going, in any direction with it up behind there than around the waist. Yeah, so I thought, oh, that's interesting. Yes.
And I would suggest that, and maybe you are, that you take your experience and what you learned as being really important, but don't necessarily generalize everything, because somebody is likely to prefer their pelvis. Somebody is likely to prefer a closer. Somebody else is likely to prefer a looser connection. But to recognize that everybody likes something a little bit different, and to know, to be able to sense how they are and whether you need to adjust your connection is important. It's good.
I just noticed how nice it is to have, you know, when you're moving, you're both the mover and the movee when we're exploring the shoulder, how nice it is to do and how it helps the muscles relax so much to be moved in a nice sort of gentle, firm, but sort of not too jerky a movement. It's just very nice, even though, you know, we're not trying to be therapeutic necessarily. It was just a very nice experience.
Good. Can I just reframe something you said? That it helps the muscles relax. And it does, but it's not the muscles that are doing it. The muscles are controlled by the central nervous system. When we touch, we're creating a neurological event in that person. We're changing the sensory information that that person is perceiving. And if they feel safe, if they feel supported, if they are able, and you touch them in a way that calms their system, and you're actively listening without forcing them to do anything, it changes the very state of firing in the brain. So it calms the brain, the excitation, all the little neural impulses saying, oh, I'm going to connect with you, I'm going to connect with you, I'm going to connect with you, I want to be active, I want to stay tight. They go, they're inhibited. And the state of excitation of the brain becomes more equal, and it's reflected in the musculature. So it is a fact that literally what we understand as relaxation does happen, but it's important to really make that distinction that, yes, we might want that as an outcome, but it's not the primary intention, although it may be the outcome that someone needs to understand the difference between being taught and ready for action and always anticipating, as opposed to being able to follow and not interfere with the movement. Thank you.
Regarding Mia said, I could feel her unsafe. She felt unsafe, and feeling this, I tried to don't do more than I felt I could do with her. For example,
Is this in the shoulder or in the dance?
when we were moving.
Moving?
Yeah. An interesting thing was when I was led by her, she proposed to be in a crawling position and moving crawling.
Crawling? Yeah.
Crawling. But I was in my two legs and one arm, and the other arm was there. And I said, and how we do this? And we did. And when we're moving in this way, but I didn't understand how, but it was, I felt like I had the image of the Siamese brothers, you know, the Siamese brothers, that they each part do one part of what they must to do to move together, to go one place or to other place, or crawling or whatever they do. And the other, in the other experience, I think, and I felt touch mothers, and it's not the same when someone is with their hands on you, and is one thing is being there, one thing is going and begin to moving, and and everything is happening in that moment. It matters, and it's not. I don't know. Yes, I'm touching you. Okay.
Smothers or mothers?
It matters. It matters. Importa. It's important. It matters.
Matter.
Matters. It matters.
Yes, it matters.
It matters.
Oh, yes.
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 Yes, I felt in I was a little unbalanced because my things,
Mhm.
and I was more balanced. Oh, just be. She also could notice I was a little tilt in one side, and then when I was again,
Lying,
yes, I was more centered.
more centered.
Yeah.
Right.
What else?
Can I ask you something about the first exercise? I wonder if the relationship with the environment has changed after that. Like the way that you see the room is a little bit different after walking around and touching surfaces. So,
Sorry.
was clear?
Yeah.
Regarding this, but I don't know if the environment, it was very interesting to understand where are we, because I was listening your voice. I know was going down. Then the speaker or someone were chatting there, and I knew I was in that area because we're chatting, and all other senses were more aware. Not because I was seeing, because I was hearing.
You're more sensitive in other senses.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Heightened. The other senses come a little, are more active, heightened, which is what Raymond was saying too.
Feel more present in the room.
Present in the room.
Yeah, I think I feel slightly more at home in the environment.
Mm-hmm.
Afterwards, I felt like I was missing someone. Like part of me was missing for the first couple of steps, and then became very grounded again. Yeah.
Is the question how I feel about the room now, or
There's still the first question, and then there's another question about whether you noticed yourself in the room differently.
Oh, while it was actually going on.
After the
Afterwards.
process.
No.
No, some will,
No.
some won't.
No, I just felt the same, yes. And what was the second question? Sorry.
That's okay. Anyone else want to make a comment?
Oh, okay.
No.
It was lots of fun.
Beg your pardon?
It was lots of fun.
Okay.
I think that's part of I mean, Kat is.
Yeah.
No, but it was fun to just. Well, Kat was very easy to partner because she's so clear in her body where her weight is going, and and that opened up a possibility of playing.
Yeah.
So it was
Fun.
yeah.
That's great.
I mean, I like having fun anyway, but it was lots of fun. I haven't had that much fun for a while.
Great.
The question was, did I feel differently in the room? Right, but my movements, I felt differently. Everything was easier to move. Yes, any movement. I just realized it.
Great. So, just a couple of things that, you've heard me talk about functionally coupled, joints being functionally coupled. You were functionally coupled with your partner That's a functional coupling. Where I go, it's going to influence where she goes. Where she goes, it's going to influence where I go. So one affects the other. And what it looked like was a form of dancing in a way. It was playing, but it was dancing. And Moshe uses the analogy of dancing to describe what we're doing when we engage with another person in FI. That if you have a skilled person or someone who's very comfortable in themselves or good as a dancer, the person who they're guiding and inviting into dance is led in, out of their head, led into their kinesthesia to follow in a way that almost doesn't feel like them because they're not doing themselves in their usual way. So I think that was a great little game to play with, to really, and you probably do it in different ways, and it'd be good to do it with friends to see how do you sense one person differently than another? How do you sense their sense of safety or comfort to follow you? How adaptable are you to change, to meet this different person who organizes themselves in space, their balance, everything differently? How do you tune into them? So there were, I saw a couple that had a couple of functionally coupled systems that had a little difficulty. It was harder to get to tune into the other. That's true in FI too. We have some people that it takes a while to tune into, or we never quite can. So we either have to move ourselves very differently, or we have to say, I think you'd be better off going to someone else. So there is so much to learn, in that process. I thank you, Julietta, for offering that in, because it was perfect. Okay, so, yes. Yeah.
Do you think that some people just can't relax enough into it, like going to see somebody else may not be the answer, or they might need to break through another layer first?
Definitely.
Before...
I'm not talking about just sending them because I can't find their rhythm. I'm talking about if I can't find a way to meet them, that I can't attune to them or get a response from their system in the direction of learning and growth, then I would.
I guess my question is more about us as practitioners, though. Wouldn't we be aiming to be able to attune with everybody?
I don't think you can. Do you think you could attune to Kim Jong-un? A gross example. So I used to think everybody might like, or I liked everybody and everybody would like me. And I've learned that that's a very naive way of looking at the world. Mm-hmm. I do think the more adaptable you are, the more able you are to match people in different ways, the better you'll be able to serve a wider variety of people. Mm-hmm. So
I've seen one practitioner.
Down there.
And my husband went to see somebody. And I think he went twice, and then she said, I don't think you should come back. Mm-hmm. So, obviously there was something there. We never discussed it.
Yep.
But I just don't think this is the right thing for either of us. Mm-hmm. So, yes, I agree with you.
I've probably had one or two people that I've recognised it in my 30, nearly 40 years experience, that I've recognised it in 2 sessions. Most people I would give 5 or 6 lessons, and usually by that time I feel, we can work. If it's been a little thing at the beginning, usually I find I have enough means and resources to meet them by that. And I have had a few people that I've seen for several years, and I think I I think you need to go and see someone else now. Yeah. Yeah.
That sounds like, and with your husband, like more like maybe a personality issue, not a skill attunement issue. And I guess that's
No.
also.
I think I'm quite skilled.
But
I'm not talking about not being able to tune to someone. I think I've developed the skill to attune to many different people because I've listened. When I find that I can't, I will give it a few approximations, but I don't think I think it's about knowing when it's worth your while or when it's the person wants to continue. If the person wants to continue, I'm willing to give it more goes, but I'm going to put it on the table with what I'm thinking about the direction we're going in. I think it's more a matter. Yeah. Yes. That's the first name. He's a whole person. The mind and body are not separate. I've worked with people who I didn't like, and because I listened and attuned to them. That went in a session, when I had some sort of a little bit of aversion for something. So I think it's often attitudinal. Some people don't want to learn. Some people will be conflictual or rebellious. And if you can find a way of matching the rebellious and help turn them around, may happen. But one thing that was said to us in my training was that the more you know your preferences, biases, and can adapt yourselves to meet where someone is coming from, the more successes you'll have at attuning and offering or perhaps meeting them in a way that you have something to offer them and you can progress with that.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome. Chelsea?
I think the attitude is a huge part of it. Like, I remember a lady one day, and it really taught me a big lesson on trying to meet someone halfway, or maybe gaining their trust, especially when you first interact with them. Like a lady that was, treating people in general, but yes, this circumstance, she came in very, very flustered and angry almost. It's too busy. I just need this done and this done and this done. And I straight away had my back up. I was just like, I've got to spend an hour with you. And she said something else, and I just went, this could go either way here. And I just said to her, it's hard being that busy, isn't it? Like whatever it was. But I really gave her the empathy that she was needing and asking for. And the mood changed just bang, like that. She got what she'd wanted and what she'd needed at that time. And she was lovely after that. But those first 5 minutes of meeting her, I thought, oh my God, like really, really hard work. But I mean, and then there's other people that are maybe not ready to get rid of their pain yet, or you've got to find a way around that and meet them somewhere where it's just going to work for both of you, I suppose. But not always easy in one session. Or
No. Another example is, I had a woman came in, and she's a little woman, and she was in the volunteer fire brigade, super tough, in lots of pain, does everything, horses, all really physically active woman, never pauses. And she came in and she's, I've got this pain, and I'm like, she didn't pause for a second. I thought, we need to slow her down. I need to, find out. And, she was still talking the whole time at the table and didn't, we're like this. So what it took me, I think, 3 sessions, I was trying my way, and the next, I've got to be like her. So I went as fast as she did. I didn't let her sit down. I kept her going around, and she was all of a sudden, it was like a switch flipped. Oh, you mean I need to shift my weight when I do that? You know, but it took me a couple of sessions before I gave up having her come my way, the way I had an easier time working. So that's what I mean by adaptability. The more you can adapt to meet the person where they are, the more likely you are to be able to find a direction that serves her and that you can work with.
Did she slow down after that?
I would say, I saw her for a couple of years. I would say in that time there were 4 lessons that she slowed down for, which were profound, really profound. And she had some really profound moments and learning in being in fast mode and me letting her stay there, not trying to take her into a parasympathetic. It was a huge lesson for me. Huge. Yes.
With Bowen, sometimes they could stay on a position for a long time, just waiting and sensing until there is like some sign of or like response in the nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
To then it's pliable and workable, like kind of like laying the ground.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it could come in other ways as well, other than touch, kind of like you like raising your vibration rate to meet hers in that case. But is that kind of, what is your view on that?
I would say, so I actually haven't had any Bowen sessions, but I would say there are times when I sit and hold and support because in a particular area, and it allows the person slowly to deepen their awareness of that area. But as a Feldenkrais practitioner, you will learn so many tools. You'll get favourites. Sometimes your favourites won't work. So you'll need to try another strategy. And I know in this program you'll be well versed in your toolbox by the time you are a practitioner. So Moshe said during the training that he used all his knowledge and would draw on it whenever he thought it was appropriate.
Mm. So it is like a dance.
So it's definitely like a dance. I think several of the unique things about the Feldenkrais method is that we recognize the importance of the skeleton in the formation of the self-image.
Mm-hmm.
So that when we connect with someone, even if we're connecting with their skin, we're thinking of the whole of the person, and intention is to include the whole person in any particular act to help them learn to use more of themselves.
In a skeletal sense.
All of themselves in every sense.
Bodily.
Mind, body, feeling, sensing, thinking, moving.
Feeling and sensing. Because it's using touch, yeah. You're not, and sometimes you're giving direction. I've noticed like when Zoran was kind of like half ATME, kind of hybrid almost going on, but because it's one-on-one, still FI kind of thing. But you're not like guiding them through emotional release.
I don't know what you associate with those words. Some people, emotions will come up. Emotions are functional. They serve a purpose. If someone's not experienced an emotion before, then we might integrate that in the lesson.
Do you talk to him much?
Sorry, two people. I'll try in a minute, or I might not. I might keep it another time. Do I talk to people? A lot. Moshe talks about FI being a non-verbal communication. But if you don't speak the same language as me, then I might need to see if you can learn the language. So how do we learn the language? Well, you're learning the language in here right now. So what I find in my practice when working with people from the general public, I find out how they know to sense themselves. What are they using? How do they move? And I see part of my job as if they come to me for assistance, is to help them understand how a human being functions. So I have a skeleton. I will talk about different aspects of the skeleton. I'll get them to hold the skeleton. I'll get them to move the skeleton. I'll get them to feel their own skeleton. I'll tell them what I'm doing, a whole lesson. If I think that they think it's crazy, but they really are committed and motivated to learn to change. The most direct, Moshe thought the most direct form of communication was touch, because it doesn't have all the emotions or attitude. It's the most direct. You can tell if I touch you whether I'm angry, whether I'm caring, whether I'm respectful, whether I'm interested, whether I'm curious, whether I'm directive, whether I'm forceful, whether I don't care about who you are. You'll know that as soon as you feel it, as soon as I touch you, whether you consciously know it or not. So with touch, Moshe thought we could communicate more directly and dance with the nervous system than through words. So when I can, it's the non-verbal. If the person I think needs it to trust me, to feel safe, or to understand the language, I'll talk like we are doing in the ATM. And ATM and FI are basically they have the same purpose.
I think that's what I was alluding to with the bone touching, because I think that's what they're kind of doing. They're kind of waiting for that response,
yes,
non-verbally.
Non-verbal response. And I've sometimes in FIs I've wondered, well, why I'm just drawn there here. Why? And I just want to sit there. And I sit there and I'm not bored and I'm interested and I'm engaged, and yet a part of my every now, is this an FI? Shouldn't I be going somewhere else? Shouldn't I be going through their skeleton? Shouldn't I be? No, this is this, and I connect again. And then something will emerge later that it was just what the person needed. How does that work? By listening, by engaging, by knowing yourself and knowing the other and being curious.
One last question. Does Moshe have you heard him talk about intuition ever before?
Yes. If I paraphrase accurately, it was something like intuition happens in the area of life you're skilled in. You're more likely to be intuitive in the field that you know about, not a field that you don't know about.
Wouldn't you could also get very easily caught in habitual conditioning too, with the area that you're skilled in, that you know a lot about?
Yes. So Feldenkrais is a method and an education that generalizes. And we as human beings have the capacity to know, to be aware of what we're paying attention to and how, and whether it's familiar or not, whether it's the same as usual or it's different. So that was Moshe's hope for us, that we would generalize it and that we'd improve our whole life to be more comfortable and more aesthetically pleasing for ourselves, pleasurable to live, and that we would continue maturing, growing up, not just be limited to the level which God gets us through life, but that we continued to learn.
Wunderbar.
Good. Okay, I've got your question in mind. You might need to ask me again, but I don't think I'll go there right now. So we were going to listen to Moshe the man now. So yeah, I think we will, just because I don't think I want to keep talking for another. I need a little rest. This talk is from the Amherst training. It is longish. I think it's a good 55 minutes. It's on posture, which I know. Oh, I've got something. I know you've. Some of you have. Which segment did Zoran play? Do you remember? Anyone remember a talk on posture by Moshe? Beginning segment? Oh, really? Oh, this is. The poor man got. Oh. I'll have to ask. So it starts off a little bit in true Moshe style, where you wonder, he's just a little disconnected. He's talking about letters that he's received from the students and the questions and the silly questions they're asking, because he was getting a little tired. His health was going, and he was getting more impatient. He wanted to change the world, and he had 200 plus people in the room that I think, this is my sense, he struggled with, because they kept coming from the same point of view. And I don't think he was all the time articulate in describing what he was thinking, or in his ATM directions all the time. But it can. So a student sent a letter in. It's about posture, and Moshe goes on. I realized I forgot to do something at lunchtime. I was going to put these pictures on the whiteboard. Have you seen body and mature behavior, the 4 ways of standing? Okay, let me see if I can do them, because there's A, B, C, and D. God. So A, I think, is this. B, this is my best effort at the moment, is this, I think. C, this, and D, this. Okay, so it's the idea of the plumb line, and he's got the plumb line and looking at the masses, the body masses, and where they are from that plumb line, and how that shifts the center of gravity over the base of support. And he's looking at it from a biomechanical perspective of what good posture is, which, for someone who trained in physio, this was wow to me when I started doing Feldenkrais, that there wasn't a right way to stand and a right way to move. It's like, oh, really? Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think there's many ways of viewing people. And when you have a broad perspective experiencing it yourself, you'll determine whether it is. Do I see this in my everyday life and practice? Absolutely. Do I see this in the street? Absolutely. Is it one way of looking at it? Yes. Yeah. I don't want to get into the whole tensegrity kind of stacking thing, but I think there's something to both. Tensegrity. Yeah. And there's a lot you can read about on the web about tensegrity. And Tensegrity. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Kevin. Yeah. I'll have a private conversation later. So, to find out more from you. Yeah. So what the method primarily for me is about is functional. And pardon? Yes, 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 yes. Yeah, yeah. Well, we have the structure. We have the structure, and our structure is formed by how we function. So if I carry myself if I walk like this, all my joints are going to change because I'm using them very differently. I'm going to influence the weight, but I'm going to influence my structure. So structure and form are like that. And Moshe understood that. But he was about living life and living a life in a way that he understood as humanly possible, which was acting in the best way we possibly could, where we had choice and we weren't limited by, I'm fine, or whatever it is, attitude, body, mind, body, different ways. Okay, so I just wanted to show you that because when he refers to A, B, C, D, that's what he's doing. So make yourself comfortable, get a roller, you can get a chair, you can, however you want to. There are some little bits in it that are interesting to watch. And let's begin. Thanks, Jenny.
Ça y est? All right, there are so many requests, so many personal requests. Everybody thinks that it's possible in 9 weeks to go through all the awareness to movement and functional integration. One wants his left leg to be corrected. Another one is ankle and is squatting. And well, in the measure that it's possible to have a glimpse at each thing, because most of the things we have learned are not good enough to be used really. Only in as much as you here personally being moved about and organizing yourself on different things that you improve. But people think you see, it's so ingrained in the majority of people, the ability not to take care of oneself, that they are asked particular things where all the 9 weeks that we are here, we are learning that it is impossible to achieve anything. If you take a particular problem, my right ear should be bigger, then you have a problem for life. Doesn't matter what you do. for life. It won't be bigger because you want this bigger, and therefore when this is bigger, you find that's too small, this is not big enough, and you will go on from one psychiatrist to another, from one technique to another, and 20 years later, you were still dealing with that ear. We have said it once and forever. Unless you improve, there is nothing that will help you. If you are not better, the leg won't be better.